Tanny Cooks here, and today I'm going to show you how to make this absolutely delicious Sunday dinner. I have spiral ham, potato salad with smoked paprika, collard greens with smoked turkey, baked macaroni and cheese, buttermilk cornbread, and some deep fried chicken, y'all. This meal is perfect for any Sunday or holiday or special occasion. Look at how golden this macaroni and cheese is on top, and it's so creamy and luscious on the inside. Wait till you make it. And I'm going to show you 2 ways to make crispy fried chicken, once on the stove and once in the oven. And then, of course, we can't forget our spiral ham. So let's get to cooking. I have 2 spiral hams that I'm going to prepare. They're bone-in hickory smoked. It comes with the flavoring ham glaze. This contains high fructose corn syrup and preservatives and other stuff that I don't want. So I'm just going to throw that away and make my own glaze. I have my pan ready with a little bit of water to help the cooking process. So the first thing I do with my meat is I wash it. Any meat I have that isn't ground meat, like ground beef or ground turkey, it gets a good rinse off. There might be some particles or chunky bits on the outside of the ham that I just want to be sure I rinse off before I cook it. And look at how beautiful this ham is. So I'm going to place it in my pan, and originally I thought that I could get both hams into one pan, but I quickly figured out that's not going to work, and I'm not going to try to force it. So I'm just going to get another pan and cook each ham separately. And I'm cooking the hams first because I have other stuff that I need to bake in the oven for this dinner. So I'm going to get the hams out the way first. So those are my 2 pans, each with some water in the bottom and the spiral ham. Now, I'm going to add pineapple juice from canned pineapple rings on top and on the ham. I find that if I use a dark cola soda like cola or Dr. Pepper, the flavor will be good, but it will discolor and darken the ham to make it look like it's overcooked. So I prefer to use something light colored like orange soda or pineapple juice. And I'm spreading the pieces of ham because I want to make sure that pineapple juice gets into multiple pieces of the ham and not just the outside or outer piece. You could use regular pineapple juice if you want to, but I like using this canned juice because I'm going to put the pineapple rings on it to cook as well. When pineapple cooks, the sugar intensifies, it sweetens, it's absolutely delicious, and so I want to impart that on my ham. So just a couple pineapple rings on top, and then I'm adding the remainder of the juice from the can. Now we're definitely going to add more flavoring to this. So I added a few pineapple rings to the water in the pan, and now I'm adding cinnamon. And you'll notice I'm adding the cinnamon to the water in the bottom of the pan, not on the ham. Again, I don't want to discolor it. That's just my personal preference. We're going to baste the ham with this juice so it will get all that flavoring throughout the meat. Now I'm adding a little bit of cumin. Cumin goes very far, so just add a couple of pinches to the water if you're not sure if you like it. But it is absolutely a delicious smoky flavor that is very tasty on ham. So I'm covering each of my hams with aluminum foil tightly, and I have a second can of pineapple rings that I'm going to use to make my glaze later on. So I cook my hams in the oven at 350 degrees, about 13 to 15 minutes per pound. I have 2 packs of chicken wings that were $4.09 per pound. Not the highest they've ever been, so that's pretty good. I'm going to season these with yellow mustard, garlic powder, smoked paprika, poultry seasoning, lemon pepper, and I'm going to do something with the breadcrumbs and flour. You could also add onion powder to this if you have it. So I'm not going to cook both packs of chicken wings. I'm going to put a few to the side in the freezer for myself to have later. I'm thinking maybe I'll make chicken and waffles. Since I have the spiral ham as a second meat, you know, the fried wings won't be the only meat in this dinner. So when I freeze my chicken, I do not wash it first. I'm all about the cleanliness, but for freezing, I don't want ice crystals to form on it. So I transfer the chicken from the store pack to my freezer bag and get out as much air as possible, and then I pop it in the freezer, and later when I want to cook it, I will thaw it out completely in the refrigerator and then wash it with lemon or lime at that point. So I have my big beautiful stainless steel bowl. I am going to put my chicken wings in that to marinate them. And look, before I marinate them, I'm going to wash them. You can see that there's some yellow bits on it. There are feathers on it. This is the reason why we wash our chicken. It helps us to inspect each piece to make sure it's suitable for what we want to cook. So I wash my chicken with cool water. And then you can add white vinegar or citrus. So I add lemon or lime. I squeeze several pieces in and I will rub the pieces of citrus on the chicken just because I want to. It makes me feel good. Now, I'm going to show you in just a few minutes the reason why we clean this. And you're not going to believe it, you know, if this isn't something you usually do. So, rub the lemon on your chicken. Citrus is a great cleanser. It has the natural properties that we need. Of course, whatever bacteria is on chicken will be killed, they say, when you cook it, but I'm going to let my chicken soak in my lemon water for 10 minutes and look at that. Can you see how cloudy it's already looking? Now, maybe that cloudy stuff won't kill you, but I just don't want to eat it. I don't want to cook it. So now I'm going to take my knife and skim over the entire chicken wing or chicken thigh, chicken breast, whatever you're cooking with skin, to make sure I get all the feathers off or any impurities or yellow stuff that I just don't want to cook. And look at the water. Stuff is coming off. When you clean your chicken one time and you see this, it's going to make you want to clean it every time, because who wants to cook that and eat that? Not me. So I prefer to clean my chicken, and then I sanitize my hand, my utensils, my dishes, my sink, everything, so I don't get sick from cleaning my chicken. Okay, enough about that. Let's season the chicken. So I'm going to put a few pieces in my stainless steel bowl, and then I'm going to start to add my seasonings. I'm starting with the mustard. Mustard is a great marinator. It has a good flavor, and it also contains vinegar, which is a natural tenderizer. And when you cook your meat with mustard, it's not going to taste like mustard at the end. It's just going to be a nice pop of flavor. So to that, I'm adding my garlic powder, lemon pepper, smoked paprika, the dry seasonings that I showed you before. You can add the seasonings you like. You just want to be very judicious with the amount of salt. My lemon pepper mix contains sodium in it, so I didn't add salt separately. I am intentionally cooking with less salt, and if you want more salt, then you can add it at the end after you cook and taste it. So give your marinade seasoning a mix with a gloved hand, and then add more chicken, and then add more seasonings. This way, you can make sure each layer of meat, each piece of chicken is seasoned well, instead of dumping all your meat in one big bowl and trying to season and rub it that way. You could do it that way, but to me, this is just easier. And give it a mix. Look how beautiful and golden. If you can let this marinate overnight, that would be awesome to impart flavor. But if you only have 30 minutes to a couple hours, then do that. It'll still be yummy. I covered it with plastic wrap, and then I'm going to stick it in the refrigerator to marinate for a bit as I cook other things in this meal. So now I'm going to take some eggs. I'm going to make my potato salad. And to do that, I'm going to boil my eggs. Now, you can boil, quote unquote, boil eggs in your air fryer. I have a video for that on my channel. So definitely take a look at my air fryer playlist to see that. It's pretty cool. But here I'm doing stuff the traditional way. So I'm just boiling my eggs and I'm boiling my white potatoes. While that's going, I have started to boil in my Catalan pot my smoked turkey wings in order to make the seasoned broth for my collard greens. I'm using shredded collard greens in the bag. It says that they've been washed already, but you know, I have trust issues, so I still wash my greens even though the bag says pre-washed. I'm washing them in cool water and white vinegar. And then I'm adding my greens. Look at how pretty these are cut. Sometimes the regular greens don't look so good in the grocery store, so the bag greens are the best option. But you can use whatever your preference is. This definitely saves time because I don't have to cut them myself. So just make sure they're completely covered in water. Let them soak. And you're going to see in a second why I do this to pre-washed greens. So I have these 2 bags, but I really don't think I need it. The bags are 2 pounds each, and this was more than enough. So I'm going to put the other bag in the freezer. So the greens are in a bowl with water and vinegar, and then I'm going to pick them up and lift them out and put them into another bowl of just clear water. The reason I'm not pouring the greens from one bowl to the next is because any impurities, dirt, or sand will sink to the bottom. So if you pour everything from one bowl to the next, you're just pouring all the dirt into the new bowl, right? So lift your greens out, and look, even in the bag, you want to pick out any greens that are discolored. So we carefully inspect our food during the cleaning process before we actually cook it. And so I'm just going to let it rinse and soak in the clean water. And look at this. This is what was left behind in the original bowl. I see some brown bits that I don't want to eat. I don't want to cook. This stuff is natural because our greens are grown in the ground, but that doesn't mean we need to eat it. We can naturally clean it, so we have naturally good food that we cook. So it's not that much sand at the bottom, which is cool. So they did do some washing, but I still like to get this little bit out. That's my personal preference. You could do this process 2 or 3 times, but I'm pretty comfortable with how clean it is now. So I added it to my pot of turkey. I added salt, pepper, smoked paprika, garlic powder, onion powder, and apple cider vinegar. And this is going to cook on medium for at least 4 or 5 hours. Now, I took my ham out of the oven and I use a meat thermometer to make sure it has come up to at least 140 degrees. You'll notice that this one came up to 150. So that's okay. I'm going to baste it with some of the pan juices that were seasoned. And then I'm going to cover this and put it in my refrigerator while my other items cook. So this is my second ham, and again I'm going to use my meat thermometer to make sure that my ham has come up to a safe temperature for eating. These thermometers are invaluable with meat, so don't take the guesswork out of it just by using the meat thermometer. It's that simple. And so you can see this comes up to 140 degrees perfectly. One ham was bigger than the other, so that's the temperature difference, even though they cooked in the oven at the same time, but that's okay. So I am going to show you the glaze that I made later, right before I served the ham. I opened the other can of pineapple rings and I put the pineapple juice in there in a saucepan over medium heat to cook down. It will get thicker as it cooks. This whole glaze will. Now I use golden monk fruit instead of brown sugar, and I also added honey. So you could add brown sugar if you want. I like monk fruit. I have a link to it in the description for you to buy it. It's healthier for you. I also add mustard. Honey mustard is a delicious option on ham for this glaze. It's very simple, very quick. So give it a whisk, let it come up, and then pour it over your ham. So now that my potatoes are ready, I'm assembling the rest of the items I need for my potato salad. I have celery, my relish. I prefer dill relish. Other people prefer sweet. I have yellow mustard, and I have mayonnaise. Duke's mayonnaise or Hellmann's mayonnaise is what my family uses. Leave me a comment down below and let me know, what mayo does your family like for your potato salad? I'm curious. So I'm peeling my potatoes after they've cooled down in my hand. I'm just getting all the skin off and then putting the peeled potato in a bowl. I peel my potatoes after I boil them when I make potato salad. If I make mashed potatoes, then I will peel the potatoes first before boiling. My eggs have completed boiling, so now I'm just going to give them a crack and peel them under running water. And I didn't mention this before, but in the water when I boil my eggs, I add white vinegar and a little bit of salt. That helps me get the shells off easier once they're done cooking, and also peeling under running water helps as well. So you can see this is coming off pretty easily. Once I have all of my eggs peeled, I am going to prep my celery. I like to break each piece in half so I can peel off those strings. Those strings are what get stuck in people's teeth, and it's so annoying, and it makes some people say they don't like celery. So just break each piece in half a couple of times, peel off the strings before you chop it, and you can avoid all of that. I like the crunch of celery. If you don't like celery, then you don't have to add it. My mother always added it in her potato salad, and that's who I model my cooking after. So that's why I continue to add it. But I don't want huge chunks. So each stalk I cut into 3 or 4 strips the long way before I even chop it, so that it's not too big of a chew in my potato salad. Now that I have my eggs and potatoes in a bowl, I'm going to go ahead and cut up my eggs. Again, in my hand. This doesn't look safe at all. As a soul food cook, I tend to do things the easiest way, the way that I'm used to doing it. But now that I'm recording this in video, I really do need to show you guys the more proper way to do it, especially if you're a new cook, so you don't hurt yourself. So take the time to get you a little cutting board and put your eggs on the cutting board and cut them there, a safer way. But you see, it's taking extra time. So in my mind, you know, I'll just do it the quick way. But safety really is the most important when you're cooking. So take your knife and then in the cutting board, slice your eggs in half and then cut it into quarters or 6 pieces. Now, I don't like my eggs to be minced up. I like to see bigger pieces of food, bigger chunks of food to know that this is actually an egg. And as we get to stirring our potato salad together, the pieces are going to break up as well. So that's why I start off kind of with medium-sized chunks of egg. I do the same thing for my potatoes. I don't mince them down too small initially because as I stir them, they're going to break up a little bit anyway. So there are my potatoes, and I have my eggs and my celery. Can you tell what vegetable I'm missing? So these are the seasonings I'm going to use in addition to my mayonnaise and mustard. So I'm adding some sea salt. The potatoes need flavoring, so that's the reason I'm adding some salt. I'm adding garlic powder, onion powder, some black pepper. I'm also adding complete seasoning. That's just a personal preference. You can leave that out if you don't happen to have it. At minimum, you want some salt, pepper, onion powder. I have a little bit of dill relish left. That's my preference. It doesn't contain high fructose corn syrup, which doesn't taste good to me. Ever since I started making my own pickles from cucumbers in my garden, I noticed I don't like the kind with high fructose corn syrup from the grocery store. I don't know. I guess my taste buds have gotten a little bit bougie since I've started gardening my own food. So I'm just adding my celery and my eggs to my bowl. And it looks like a lot, but this is actually a lot of potato salad that we're making. So it works out to add delicious flavor. So with my dry ingredients, I'm just going to give everything a light mix. And now I'm going to add my wet ingredients. I'm going to add them incrementally so that I can add more as needed each time. So I'm starting off with about a tablespoon of yellow mustard. And now I'm going to add Duke's mayonnaise. So I'm using just a regular tablespoon, but I'm going to add about a cup of mayonnaise to start because this is a lot of potatoes. If you're making less potatoes, then of course you could start off with a 1/4 cup or 1/2 cup of mayonnaise and just give it a light mix and see if it is a consistency that you like. If not, then add a little more. You'll notice as we're stirring, some of the pieces of potato and egg may mash up and get a little bit smaller. That's okay because we cut them into nice size medium pieces so it won't mash down into nothing. I'm adding smoked paprika for flavor, so that's why I am sprinkling a little bit on and then mixing it in thoroughly. Now, if you guessed earlier the vegetable I was missing in my potato salad, it was onion. I don't know how I forgot a yellow onion, but that is always included. Even if I use onion powder, I still use fresh yellow sweet onion, and I give it a small dice. But this is your potato salad, so I guess the only thing that's required is potatoes to make potato salad. If you don't like celery or onion or paprika or mustard, leave it out. Add what you like and leave out what you don't. So I'm giving both onions a small chop. You can add just 1 diced small onion and see how you like it and then add more. If you want more, I know that I enjoy this flavor and it will help intensify the overall flavor of the salad as it sits for a day. So if you can make your potato salad the night before, the day before, that will definitely help the flavor profile when you serve it. But I'm making this the day of, and it'll be yummy, but the leftovers are extra yummy, in my opinion. So after I gave the onion a mix in, I added about 1 tablespoon or 2 more of mayonnaise. Now, I'm adding more paprika on top. I'm not going to actually serve it in this bowl. This dinner is going to be served mostly in to-go plates. So I'm just going to leave my potato salad in here and add plastic wrap and put that in the refrigerator until later. Now it's time for cornbread. So I have all of my ingredients out. I'm going to list them on the screen for you. This is buttermilk cornbread. I have Kerrygold butter. I have baking soda, eggs, all-purpose flour, white granulated sugar, and all-purpose yellow cornmeal. And then I have a 13x9 pan. You want to be sure to use whole fat buttermilk, not the fat-free kind. We want that fat for flavor and for texture. These are the ingredients on the screen. 2 cups of buttermilk, room temp, 2 cups of yellow cornmeal, 2 cups all-purpose flour, 1 1/3 cup sugar, 1 cup or 2 sticks of butter, 4 large eggs, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and half a teaspoon of salt. So now I'm going to take my 2 sticks of butter. Look at how beautiful this Kerrygold butter is. I'm going to put it into my 13 by 9 baking pan. And then I'm going to put this in the oven at 350 degrees until it melts. We're going to use this to grease our pan, but we're also going to use that melted butter for a special purpose. So in a clear glass bowl, I'm mixing my 2 cups, my dry measuring cup of cornmeal. And then I'm putting in my 2 cups of flour, and you can't see this off camera, but I have a little scoop right here that stays in my flour container, and I scoop the flour in that, and then I drop it into my 1 cup measuring cup to make sure I have exactly 1 cup. If you put your 1 cup measured into your flour, you're going to end up scooping out more because it's going to be packed down, so don't do that. Now I'm going to put my sugar in, and I'm using a 1/3 scoop, and so that's why I had to do several of those. I'm doing my salt. And now I'm adding my eggs. 4 eggs. I also put in my baking soda at this point. This is baking soda, not baking powder. And at this point, I'm just giving it a light mix to make sure everything is mixed through thoroughly. It's going to look a little dry. That's to be expected. It is mostly dry ingredients except for our eggs. Now I'm going to add in my 2 cups of buttermilk. So I let my buttermilk and my eggs stay on the counter at the beginning of my cooking process so it can come to room temperature by the time I'm ready to make my buttermilk. I do that when I'm making cornbread as well as baking cakes. The butter is also room temperature too, but that doesn't matter because I'm putting it in the oven anyway. So just make sure everything is thoroughly mixed up in your bowl. I have my red cast iron trivet on the countertop because now I'm going to take out my hot pan of melted butter. So what we're going to do is we're going to pour that 2 sticks of melted butter into our cornmeal mix. Yes. So you'll see there's butter still in the container so that it was greased when we're going to pour everything in there. But we're adding that butter to our cornbread mixture. And I know it looks like a lot, but this is what's going to keep our cornbread moist. And remember, this is a big pan of cornbread and it's going to sit up pretty tall, at least 2 inches. So the pieces themselves are going to be cut pretty small. So no one's going to be eating this whole pan of cornbread by themselves. Although it's going to be so good that you may be tempted to try it, but don't do it. 1 piece of cornbread will do you just fine. It is sweet and the buttermilk flavor comes out. So it's just a perfect flavor profile. You will love this cornbread if you try it one time. I am completely positive of that. So we're just going to continue to mix, and as we mix, you'll see the butter becomes fully incorporated into our batter. Look at that, y'all. Beautiful cornbread batter. And this is our pan with our melted butter. So now just pour your batter into your pan. I'm just giving that butter a little shake to make sure my pan is evenly coated. We're going to cook this in the oven at 350 degrees for about 30 to 45 minutes. And once it cooks, y'all, look at how beautiful it is. It looks a little light because my studio lights are bright, but I promise you it is very golden, as you can see here. When it comes out the oven, while it's still hot, I take a tablespoon of butter and I rub it across the top. I know it's lots of butter in it, but I like a little on top as well. So now let's move on to our macaroni and cheese. I boiled my macaroni noodles in salted water according to the directions on my package, and I drained that and I have it in the strainer in my sink. So in the same pan, I am making my cheese sauce. So I'm melting butter in my pan. And now I'm adding milk. I'm adding whole milk. You absolutely could use a combination of whole milk and evaporated milk. And then I'm going to add some cheeses. I'm using medium cheddar, New York sharp cheddar, extra sharp cheddar. I like cheeses, y'all, so I like to use a variety of them. So once my butter starts to melt, I'm going to add my milk. The exact quantities doesn't matter. It just depends on how much macaroni you're making to determine how much cheese sauce. So my favorite way to make baked macaroni is to make a cheese sauce with milk, cheese, and butter, as well as adding shredded cheese to the baking pan. I'm also adding this triple cheddar cheese. There are lots of ways to make mac and cheese, so you can use the method that you like best, but this works out the best for me. So I'm adding some shredded cheese, and I'm going to give it a stir. I'm going to let this cook down on a medium-low heat, so it is going to take a minute. I'm not going to try to rush it. I don't want my milk to come up to a boil and scorch my pan. While this is melting down, I'm going to shred down the blocks of cheese that I showed you so that I can add them to the cheese sauce as well. Now, we are going to season our cheese sauce just like we season the baked macaroni any other time. So I'm using dry mustard. I have a link to get this on Amazon. I like this brand, but I have a hard time finding it in grocery stores. I have purchased other brands as well, but I like to add some garlic powder and some onion powder as well as black pepper to my macaroni and cheese. I like the added flavor. So you want to give it a stir pretty often just to make sure none of the dairy products are burning at the bottom of the pan. So now I'm adding more cheese. We want the consistency to be very thick and luscious and creamy. So I looked at the amount of macaroni I cooked, and so I'm making more sauce. So I added more milk. Once it's mixed to your liking, it's actually golden, but it looks pretty light here. I'm going to turn off the heat off of the eye, and then I'm adding my cooked macaroni to it. I want to make sure that each one of the macaroni noodles fills up on the inside with the cheese sauce before we put it in the oven. So again, we don't want to overcook our macaroni because it's already been boiled and drained. So now we're just tossing it in our creamy cheese sauce. So I have my two disposable pans, baking pans. You can add butter to grease the pan, so I'm just going to use a little bit of butter spray. And then to that, I'm going to add in my macaroni noodles and cheese sauce. So I'm just going to put half in each pan to make my 2 pans of baked macaroni and cheese. So now let's add our shredded cheese to our baking pans. So I'm going to split my cheese evenly between my 2 pans and just give it a mix to make sure that cheese is mixed through so that every bite of macaroni pie will have some yummy, delicious, creamy cheese in it. Now I'm adding some additional whole milk. This whole milk will help make the custard part of our baked macaroni and cheese, which is very delicious. I just add milk until my macaroni and cheese looks a little bit loose. And then I add more cheese to the inside and to the top. And look at that, y'all. Baked macaroni and cheese ready to go into the oven. You could add a couple of pats of butter on top. That will help it to get golden and brown on top. And so while that's in the oven cooking, I'm going to show you how I make oven fried chicken wings. I do the same process to make oven fried pork chops, which is really delicious. So now I'm going to try it out on some chicken wings. Later, I am going to fry some chicken wings through the traditional way because I don't need my food to be extra crispy. In the first bowl, I added a cup or so of all-purpose flour. In the second bowl, I am cracking a few eggs. In the third bowl, I am adding panko breadcrumbs. This is what is going to give our baked chicken the extra crispiness. So I'm going to season all 3 components. This is the lemon pepper seasoning. I am also going to add the smoked paprika to each one. Not a lot because it's going to be in each component. There is a little bit of salt in the lemon pepper. I'm adding some liquid smoke to my eggs. And now I'm just mixing the seasonings into each component. So I'm mixing the seasoning in the flour, the breadcrumbs, as well as whipping up my eggs. So my chicken has been in the refrigerator marinating. Remember the mustard and seasoning we added to it. I took it out of the refrigerator and let it sit on the counter for a few minutes just to come up to room temperature, and look how beautifully delicious that marinated chicken looks. So it has some mustard on it first, so I'm going to dip it into my flour bowl first to make sure it is well coated. Then we're going to dip that into our egg, our seasoned egg. And then lastly, we're going to drop it into our breadcrumbs and basically press the breadcrumbs into our chicken. So this chicken is double coated and the breadcrumbs will be extra crispy. So I'm going to sit this on a baking rack as I prepare the other half of my chicken that's going to be prepared in this manner. So I prepared half of my chicken wings. The other half I'm going to prepare the traditional fried way. So with the breadcrumb chicken, I'm going to spray it with this olive oil spray just to help the breadcrumbs cook. I have this non-stick mat that I'm going to cook my chicken on. I won't need to add extra oil to the pan. I'm just going to spray some on both sides of my chicken pieces. And then I'm going to arrange them evenly on my baking dish and pop them in my oven for 350 degrees until they get about golden. And it's hard to tell from my lighting, but they are golden brown, extra crispy. I cook them for about 15 minutes, but you can use a meat thermometer to make sure your chicken is cooked all the way through. I also deep fried some chicken, which is my preferred way to make chicken wings. Look at how delicious this chicken is, y'all. And I made these towards the end, so they're perfect for eating right now. So all of the elements of my dinner are cooked. The spiral ham, I plated up, my potato salad, my collard greens with smoked turkey, my baked macaroni and cheese, my sweet buttermilk cornbread, and my fried chicken. So this Sunday dinner video was to give you all the tips and tricks I use to make a delicious meal. You can use this for any special occasion or holiday meal. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel.